Welcome back to That Handicapping Show at bloodhorse.com. I'm Tom LaMarra, joined by Claire Novak once again. And this week we'll be looking at the Whitney Invitational Handicap Grade 1, $750,000 at 1 1/8 at Saratoga Racecourse. And it's a very good field of 8. Lots of ways to go in here, although I think we'll have a couple horses who will take the most money. I think this race depends heavily on the early pace, which could be swift, but as we know, sometimes when we think that, the opposite happens. Heavy favorite perhaps will be Fort Larned, who drew post 3. And you really can't say anything bad about the horse. He shows 3 victories at 1 1/8 in 147 and change, and he's won those races impressively. He won this race last year. He showed that he could come from a little bit off the pace, which may be necessary given the presence of a couple horses, including Cross Traffic, a 4-year-old trained by Todd Pletcher. He's only run 4 times, but in his 4th start, he was only a nose shy of winning the Met Mile. So it's never been 1 1/8, never been past a mile, so we'll see how that goes. And it is his first start around 2 turns. Claire, how do you see this race going?
Well, like you said, Fort Larned is going to be the heavy favorite, and coming off that Stephen Foster victory, it was just so impressive, wire to wire, 6 1/4 lengths, near record time, and it really was a case of he's back. And with a rough start to the beginning of the year, we really hoped to see him get a good solid victory under him coming in here, and he did exactly that. So I'm sure he's going to be the favorite, and especially with the wagering fans at Saratoga knowing that he won here last year. I'm not a huge fan of Cross Traffic, which probably means he's going to win. But yeah. I really honestly, like you said, all the things that you said. I mean, first time around 2 turns, hasn't gone 1 1/8. And really, I didn't think the Met was that impressive of a race. And the, the Westchester that he ran 2nd in, to flat out. I mean, he was really determined in that race. That was a great stretch duel, but I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of his. I think there's some horses in here like Ron the Greek, also Successful Dan. Mucho Macho Man will be interesting. I'm kind of off the Mucho Macho Man bandwagon now. He was 3rd in the criminal type last time out. He only has 1 other start this year. I just don't know. He seems to be the horse who needs to get into a pattern of running and build up to those victories. And I don't know if he's had the chance to do that this year. So for me, I'm just going to go with Fort Larned. I got in trouble with his exercise rider for not picking him last time anyway, so Kate, I'm sorry I pick him this time. I don't know if that's good or bad. Maybe if I pick him, he won't win. But one of the things, the Whitney is a Breeders' Cup Classic win-a-year-in race, and this race is very pivotal for the later half of the year, including the fact that a horse like Fort Larned really needs to run extremely well in this race in order to be in the running for Horse of the Year honors. That's something he lost last year to Wise Dan, and I know Ian Wilkes was kind of disappointed with that and would like to see that horse do this. But he really has to run a sterling second half of the year campaign in order to get that done, especially with how tough the beginning of the year was for him.
Well, he is 1 for 1 at Saratoga, as we mentioned earlier. He won the Whitney. I think he will have to run a near stellar race to win this. The way I'm thinking this race may shape up, I think Ron the Greek will be a lot closer than 10 lengths behind Fort Larned last time in the Foster.
Yeah.
And he's not won at Saratoga, but he has 2 seconds and 2 starts. I could see him absolutely crashing this ticket late, and quite frankly, I think he has a shot to win. I think the price may be a little bit higher than it's been. Of course, you like to watch how the track's playing, but I think if this race goes and is run the way it appears it may be run, I think Ron the Greek can be a big factor.
He's
but I
a
do
really
like
good
Fort
horse.
Larned.
Yeah.
I do like Fort Larned as well, because I think if he can rate even a little bit, I think he's right there at the end. So that's the Whitney big race. The weather's supposed to be good up in Saratoga. Just a real quick overview of the West Virginia Derby at Mountaineer Grade 2 1/8. Didn't come up overly strong this year, so it's looking like Departing, winner of the Illinois Derby, and Overanalyzed, blinkers on for Todd Pletcher, winner of the Arkansas Derby, will probably grab the most action in this race. Again, though, there were 9 entered, and the horses who don't have the high bris numbers, however, are probably the ones who will be involved early, and you've got to be careful about that kind of stuff because, the 2 favorites, they do have speed, but they may not be on the early pace, and of course, that can create problems. So look at this race carefully when you handicap it.
Yeah, and I would just be happy to see the Illinois Derby winner get back on track. Illinois bred represent would be, well, he's not an Illinois bred, I am, but that would make me happy if he could get back on track and run a good race. So
yeah, I think Departing has a lot more room for improvement, and of course he is a gelding, and this is his first race in a couple months, so this is, the start toward the Breeders' Cup perhaps, so we'll see what happens at Mountaineer this weekend. Enjoy the races. For Claire, I'm Tom, and again, we thank Briss for the past performances. We'll see you next time on That Handicapping Show.